When did y'all go live with True North?
So there was an announcement of a partnership that we had with a company that I've been working with for a while, and we did that a couple of weeks ago. And then yesterday, my girl just put it out. She was like, "Here it is," and I was like, just stay tuned. Just I'm just telling everyone, stay tuned. You're gonna see some stuff that people aren't ready for.
Okay.
They're not ready for it, but they need it. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole thing about AI policy creation and violation and how you're tracking all of that stuff.
Mm.
We're gonna solve for that. I mean, a perfect example, because people are like, well, how are you going to use that? And I'm like, it's going to be in use in the same way that AI is deployed everywhere. When you look at prime example, cities are always interested in what they call Vision Zero initiatives. Vision Zero initiatives reduce the number of fatalities at any given action. So how do you trust that data that is coming up, right? That data that says someone, the traffic light said that it's red. There's someone at the corner waiting to cross the street. A vehicle turns right and hit them. You want that. That's a moment that matters.
Yeah.
So you want that on a distributed ledger that captured all of that information, timestamp, visibility. You can capture the images if there's cameras there, the whole shot, and you put that on a distributed ledger.
Right. So here's my question. We know, because we got good sense and we've been in this, that data is responsibly mined very often, but then it just sits somewhere and nobody's analyzing it, let alone implement from the findings. So what are you all looking to do as it pertains to providing training, support on that end to actually, make that data and the insights from it actionable for those entities?
So the very first thing is we're giving them that insight. So we're letting them know from a geolocation, at this location, this happened. And we're giving them all of that. Traffic light was at this state, pedestrian, cyclist, or whatever it was located here. The distance between the vehicle and that pedestrian, if it was a near miss, was X.
Mm-hmm.
And we're putting it into their hands and saying, here you go. Right. Now, when it comes time to say who was in the wrong, because a lot of times they think the vehicle driver, the driver of the vehicle is in the wrong because you made the right-hand turn or you ran the red light. I mean, there's so many things that you're missing, so many pieces of information that you're missing. And we're trying to tag all of that metadata and then lock it up because now it can't be tampered with.
Right.
So we're putting it in their hands. And if they ever get audited, they can say, here it is. And True North also acts as the third-party verifier for that.
Okay. And so you're really thinking from, I guess, the basic business case, hey, here's invaluable insights for when the audit comes. Whether a city, whatever municipality or government entity decides to do with it in the way of prevention or maybe even shifting, policy or moving that stop sign over 2 feet or whatever the case is solely up to them.
It's solely up to them.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, AI governance is going to be driven around policy creation and changes, policy accept, right? And then there's a whole fairness compliance piece. If the Algorithmic Accountability Act is actually passed, now you got bias, discrimination, copyright. Right. All of these things are in your governance piece.
Yeah.
Then you've got your outputs, which are, the explainability of the algorithm, the metadata records, predictions, analysis, outliers, range of inputs and outputs, right? I mean, all of this is going to be predicated because we're standards based. We're talking about the NIST element of it, where they're asking for explainable AI. We're talking about IETF, which is another, governing body for a standard. we're kind of engaged along all those lines, and we're taking all that and we're saying, okay, well, here's an instance where it can be applied, and we're just building up a number of use cases that we're going after. And these things called quote unquote audit trail are what we're talking about. Now, sure enough, there's a number of other entities that can come in and say, well, we've got blockchain. And yeah, I'm sure you do, but is it distributed?
Mm.
And are you built on something else that now your roadmap is governed by the foundation that you're built on? Well, that's not the case here. We're not bound by that. So it's gonna be real interesting coming up.
Okay, man. See, this is why I want to talk to you, Bill. This is why the people need to hear from you, because your mind and your team and what you commit your days to, I feel like so far out in front of the typical person. And sure, there are plenty of people who are in this world with you, but it's information that the average citizen isn't concerning themselves with until 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later. And this is the genius that I know that you are, Mr. Pugh. So look, let's keep diving, man. We're gonna start with a very essential conversation. Top 5 rappers of all time.
Top 5 rappers of all time. Ooh, okay, all right.
No, you don't need to rank them. Just give me that bucket of 5. And this is problematic in so many ways, but it is what it is, because we can't be on here for too many hours with
that's
the people.
Right. That's right. That's right. So, all right, first one, Rakim.
Oh, that tells me a lot about you, sir. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, Rakim. Next one, Chuck D.
My man, keep going. All right.
All right. Big Daddy Kane. Tupac. Oh, now I'm struggling with this last one, man. But I'm going to have to say Nas.
Okay. That's a very rich list right there. And 2,000 people are ready to fight, another 1,500 are, cussing out the screen. They don't understand. You just got dismissed and canceled by all kind of people because you didn't name this, that, and the other. But no, man, that list says a lot about who you are as a man. It says a lot about, we ain't gonna ask you your age, but it tells us that you are hip hop's first generation.
Yes.
And it's funny, somebody just asked me a couple weeks ago if there's an equivalent in this day and time, which I don't think there ever could be, but an equivalent in this day and time of a Public Enemy, right? And I quickly answer, absolutely not.
No.
No. Not even close. And I don't think there has been since.
No, there hasn't. I mean, you're talking about conscious hip hop. Conscious.
Yeah. Right. Super.
Right. Yeah. Sending a message.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, look, I implore anyone that hears this, go find Public Enemy and listen to Shut 'Em Down.
See, and you're saying conscious, which some are gonna say militant, which that's fine. Radical, that term will be tossed around. I think it's all fair, but I don't think those are negatives either, right?
No.
And you hear the right conversations from Dr. King, he would wholly agree with what they were saying. But those aren't the messages. Those aren't the messages that get televised every January or February. So
hey, that's right.
Yeah. So because if it's up to certain minds, they just want us to keep dreaming.
Oh yeah.
Just stay dreaming.
Yeah. So I mean, don't execute on anything, but
right. That's right. That's right.
keep the dream alive. And
Yeah. So okay, so you that see, I try to stay the script with this stuff, but it always ends up going however the guest wants it to, and that's cool. That's fine. That's what we're here for, right? But you mentioned executing on anything, right?
yes,
Any given moment, any given day, any given place, some great conversations are being, I'm gonna say, hinted at as it pertains to Black professionals, Black people being involved in the tech space. I mean,
yep,
you work your YouTube, right? That algorithm will line up to where you have a pretty nice stream of content speaking to that. But what I'm not hearing out here, what I'm not seeing is clear messaging on the how to, right? Hey, these problems exist with, your typical transit system, or these problems exist with working to build out EV infrastructure, or whatever the case may be, or these problems exist with data security, or the perceptions of AI, whatever it is. But Bill, what you're talking to a 17-year-old Black woman, young Black woman, a young Black man who's interested in technology seriously. Where are the opportunities? How do they actually break in? And kind of part two to that question, what about the current entrepreneur who's actively at it? They actually may know how to do some coding. They
mhm.
understand software, they understand back end, they understand the importance of UX and UI. Where do they where do they get in right now? Where do they need to have their heads? How do they come together? How do they find each other? I'm throwing out a lot of stuff right there, but I think you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
it.
All right. So, I mean, look, and I get this a lot, right? I mean, when you think about it, it's a challenge for this generation. It's a challenge, but it's as big of a challenge it is. It likewise is an opportunity. So the very first thing that I'm going to say is, sure, you can tell them go off and educate yourself on where you think you best fit. But I don't really start with jump into the pool and swim with everyone else.
Mm.
I start with what is it that you really want to do? Tell me what you really want to do. And if you have an idea, and don't shy away from, look, I want to do this on my own. I want to build it on my own. I want to build this. Get you a mentor. There are a lot of us out there that want to find the next one. I
Mm.
mean, look, I need to find the next me, the person that's willing to buck the system, the person that is willing to say, I'm sorry, I don't fit in that box, and I'm gonna build my own, which is open-ended. I'm gonna tell them, get you a mentor, get yourself associated with networking groups, meetups, other places that that have an interest for you, and then have the dialogue, have the honest conversation. The money will come. Forget saying I'm going after a 6-figure or a 7-figure income. The money will come as long as you deliver the value. And what you know is not the value. It's you and how you present it.
Mm.
Because I can tell people a million and one different things. Like we talk about digital twins. There are a plethora of people out there talking about digital twins, but there's only a handful of them that have actually done it.
Right.
You want to talk to someone that's already done it.
Right. So how would you that you've said mentor 2 or 3 times in the last 70 seconds, and now you're saying find someone who's actually done it, and I can't help but put those two together when it comes to protege mentor relationship. How important is it to be mentored by someone who is truly so out in front of you and has walked the path? How important would you say that is?
Immensely. I mean, I had a mentor, still having the same one, and I mean, he asked me that same question. He said, what is it that you want to do? I said, I want to be as wealthy as you.
Mm.
And he looked at me, he said, no, you don't. He said, no, you don't. He said, that's not what you want. I was like, well, wait a minute. You just asked me what I want. I told you that's what I want. He said, that's not what you want. He said, what you want is a different relationship with money.
Mm.
And I was like, okay.
I thought we were talking about technology. Hold on.
Yeah. He's like, no, you want a different relationship. He said, now the avenue by which you achieve that is 100% under your control.
Mm. Wow.
And the thing about that is, irrespective of whether it is tech driven, process driven, or anything, there's a human centric aspect to all of this. And your metrics for measurement are predicated by you and your actions.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
almost like having personal KPIs.
100%. And that's the thing about it, is that in a number of instances, we don't hold ourselves accountable.
Bill, there you man, this it. Here we go. We're diving deep. We're starting.
So I mean, it's holding yourself accountable. I mean, to these things. All right, here's a prime example. I go to work, and my whole thing was I need to get a good job. What is a good job? I didn't know, but I knew that whatever it was attached to whatever I was making at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I got on that hamster wheel, and every single time that I joined a company, they were like, great, love having you here. Here's what you go and do. And I had a list of things that they wanted me to do, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of wanted to go and do this. No. You fit in this department, this job function, and here's what you go do. Now, my boss doesn't see me every single day. He might see me once a week, but I'm engaged with these other teams and everything. Come the end of the year, there's something called a 360 review. And people have offered their commentary on my performance. And my boss, who I only seen maybe 50 times in that year, is telling me, hey, here's the feedback. And now I got a score. And then I've got a whole nother set for next year. And if I want to achieve the goal of moving up in that organization, here's how that happens. So someone has already decided for me what my performance is. Someone has decided for me what it's going to take for me to advance. And someone has decided for me how much more money I'm going to make. I didn't appreciate that. I still to this day don't appreciate that.
And I'm hearing, based on what you've taught us today, that not just are they telling you what kind of money you're going to make, what they're really telling you is what your relationship with money is going to be.
Exactly.
Right.
So
that's a foundational. that's a heavy foundational issue.
It is. Yeah. I mean, across the board. Right. I see others, I'm doing things and I'm making my boss look good. He's doing things, make his boss look good. And at the end of it, somebody's getting bonuses and my bonus don't look like theirs, but I know the legwork that I put in. Now, I mean, look, this is an industry world problem in terms of how companies work and operate.
Yeah.
And we've all been there, and we've all had the cooler talk where we're sitting around and talking about, if I was in charge, this wouldn't happen, and I would be doing it this way, and I would be doing it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you go do it? Yeah, man. No, wait a minute. I got a family. I got a family to take care of. I got mouths to feed. Well, wait a minute. You just said that if you were in charge, this is what you would do.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking a couple of things, and we're gonna come back to mouths to feed, because I think there's something very critical that needs to be brought to surface when it comes to that concern. But before we get there, you Bill, are entrepreneur successfully and currently, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you have, is it 2 companies? Or I bet
Two
there's,
companies.
okay, and you probably got another 3 or 4 you ain't telling us about, and that's cool. That's cool. And I know they're at least in the works, and that's excellent. So, and I think what's important, and it's not to shame or discount anyone. We're all obviously on our professional journey, especially those of us who are entrepreneurs, which I think at some point we need to really dig into defining what that means and giving people the real surround what entrepreneurship is, and not just these cover statements of, oh, it's hard to run a business or whatever the case may be, but no, here are the real insights that are evergreen that you need to take with you on this journey. But we'll get to that eventually. Maybe that'll be our part 2. But for those who are having the cooler talk, which may be with someone, or it may just be that they're going through that, having that conversation with themselves day in and day out, there's obviously a level of courage that is required to step out. And this concept of job security, which again, we'll get to feeding people here in a minute, I personally think is somewhat a farce when it's directly connected to me being employed by someone.
Yeah.
Right. Because how many, there are constantly layoffs somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yes.
To the point of corruption, where somebody's going to figure out a way to push you out. So yeah, again, I think it's a farce as it pertains to the sense of security, job security, or even just, I think, general security being connected to me being employed by someone. What do you say to the person, the people who are really letting, maybe it's ignorance, and I say that in a respectable way, just not knowing, or maybe it's a lack of courage or connectedness. What do you say to those people who stick to, frankly, the status quo of let me be employed by someone in order to stay safe?
I say, if that is your safe place, then be in your safe place. But I mean, I'm not going to try to pull people into something that is 100% uncomfortable. Right. This is what I mean by holding yourself accountable. So if you are in that safe place, recognize that you are predicated to 3 to 5% increase, which won't even match inflation, which is going to impact your mouths to feed. Right? You've got to, also you have to recognize that, being sarcastic and everything about it, that a job is just a 3-letter acronym for just over broke. Now, I say that, but jokingly, but on the other hand, I'm like, you will never reach that point. You make $250,000 a year, you're going to live to that $250,000 a year, because it's just the nature of the beast. You need to build up a surplus, and you need to have more money coming in than is going out. Right. There is only one way that I know that happens, and that is to be your own boss. Yeah. I mean, yes, getting a business, running a business, it's all hard. Being a maverick is what's difficult. When people say, oh, well, here's how you run this business, or here's how you start a business, or here are all the things, go out and raise money. Hold it, time out. Didn't I just tell you I wanted to be an entrepreneur? That's what I wanted. If I go and I raise around, I work for that person, that group, those investors, those VCs.
Ooh, Bill.
And then all of a sudden they got somebody for me. They can come and help you.
Yep.
So
here's
my C round, my A round, my B round, the more rounds I have, the lower I am on the totem pole of ownership. And now I work for that board. Yeah. Okay.
This right here, sir. So I am an ownership geek, meaning I see very clearly the critical nature of owning what, really, to me, it's a matter of stewardship. owning what God has given you, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's your name or your business. I mean, and not to try to get religious or, but there's a scripture, 1 Thessalonians 4:11 and 12, where, as I see it, the crux idea, it literally states, mind your own business. Now, we could read that and, stay out of other people's affairs, and which, yes, there's that. But I really see it as a double entendre because it's preceded by work with your hands.
Yeah.
Right? Work with your hands and mind your own business. And it says actually make it your ambition. So with that, and we can have Bible study, whoever's listening, after you look that up and read it, we can get into it. Would love to do so. But you bring up something that I think touches on a very, very relevant topic that frankly has been since this version of America's inception, is Black people's limited access to capital. But what I'm hearing you say right now is, even when we have that access, or we're afforded that access, or maybe that access is dangled in front of us, we really need to think twice about what we're saying yes to, because it could mean that we end up still out of the ownership seat.
Yes.
And now I think what's important, because we could clearly talk days and days around this, but again, how do we do this? How do we fund a company that is, valued at millions or even billions, right? And we're employing people, and we truly are able to exercise our vision for this business, for how it transforms lives. How do we do that and maintain ownership? What's the option if it's not your typical PE or VC situation?
The very first thing that I would say is we come together. All right. That is the foundation. We come together, whether that be the man and his wife, the wife and her husband, the family, a group of families. I mean, there's an equitable deposit of sweat equity that is mandated.
Yeah.
And no, it's not easy. That's the whole thing. Be smart about that, because when you say we need to know what we're saying yes to, all money is not good money.
Right.
So someone says, I love your idea, I'm going to give you startup capital, show me a plan. Okay, well, why can't I just create that plan myself? Go to my network of people and say, look, I want to build this together with you. It's going to take us some time. You will not arrive at the promised land in the next 18 months. I mean, know what that is. Again, hold yourself accountable for those things. Start there. Start in the community first.
Yeah.
Before you say, I know these VCs and I know this VC and everything. Look, no knock on VCs. A lot of my friends are VCs, but they're my friends. They've never given me or my companies anything other than support.
Yeah. Okay, you just threw out the buzzword now. You're part of this Black Fleet Network community, and you're on this Black Fleet Network podcast called TreadDeep, sir, and you threw out the word network. All right.
Yes.
and you said it in the way that I think it's intended, which is as a verb. And
yes.
You didn't say it as a verb, it was a noun the way you said it, but you used it in coupling with action. You said,
Absolutely.
go to your network, right?
Yes.
Which means to me, you are somebody who networks, verb. Okay.
Absolutely.
So for anybody, young, tenured, on their way, how significant is it to be actively engaged in a network, and what should that network be like when you're talking? If you're somebody who's trying to to excel, somebody who's on the ascend, what should that network be?
That network should be action, period. It should be vast. It should span all verticals. It should know no bounds. You should be looking to create a network that is so diverse that in any given situation, you have someone that you can call and say, hey, I mean, look, BFN, when it first came up, I was like, oh, I've got to get in on this. I've got to. This is, come on. Are you kidding me? And I am not a fleet operator, don't know the operations of fleets, but I can tell you this, from a technology perspective, I know how to get these things to go, and I know what technical elements are required in order for us to achieve this in this intelligent infrastructure initiative that we are looking at right now. So your network should be broad. I'm still learning. I'm a student of technology. I'm a student of business. I don't have all the answers, but you know what I do have? I have a lot of drive. I have a big network, and I engage without looking for, all right, well, look, I have this knowledge. You want this? It's going to cost you. No.
Right.
No. Remember, I said, go to your network and be willing to engage.
Right.
Don't look at something and say, this isn't for me because they're doing this. Go and check it out.
Yeah. We recently had the fortune to talk with Jason Rasco. I don't know if you've met Jason yet. He's BFN's very first member.
Okay.
And yeah, he's out of the Detroit. He runs a pest control fleet. But what stuck with me is him encouraging us to get out of our shell. He was saying, look, like you can't expect in this industry in particular to really, progress, or certainly not make any waves if you're tucked away somewhere. And I hear you echoing that very precisely through what you're saying. So there's the double down, fam, for whoever's listening. Oh, I know what we need to talk about, Bill. We have not spent a moment understanding what your expertise is. in a nice little neat nutshell. I mean, clearly, I think we could safely say that you truly are a technologist, and we appreciate your humility in just saying that you are a student of it, because clearly it's the one thing that is constantly changing, right?
Yes.
But yeah, what are Bill Pugh's resume highlights, if you will?
Oh, wow. Early employee during the smart grid era for a company that became the 800-pound gorilla in the space.
Okay.
Bounced from there over early employee in a smart city company that was acquired by a large telco. Patents in networking, wired and wireless networking, patents in data and the use of data. Builder of digital twins back from 2013 is when I built my first digital twin, which was fraught with a lot of education because the industry itself, the tech industry, the cities, utilities, all of these other areas were not familiar with what a digital twin was, especially using streaming data. Went on from there to go and work with 45 plus different cities. And over the course of 10 years, did enough that I was just about ready to retire and just go, you know what, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to piddle around and, be a philanthropist or something,
Yeah.
And my wife said, now, mind you, I will say my first company, my wife was the one that told me, don't go back to work for another company because I've seen you, you're not happy. She said, I believe in you and I believe that you can do it.
Now, hold on, Bill. I got to stop right here. Excuse me. I just got to do a commercial for the young men out there. You heard what the man said. His wife said, I believe in you, and you go on your own strength. And that's what Bill's wife said now. So, and I'm feeling some kind of way because I got a wife like that. who
It's an
questions
awesome
any.
thing. It's a blessing.
It truly is a blessing, fam. So y'all pay attention and y'all watch who you scrolling through on. All right, y'all hear me? Please continue, Bill.
Well, I'm gonna close that one off with you. You know that the Bible says a man that finds a wife
Finds a
finds a
good
good
thing.
thing.
Amen. Yes.
Okay, so
All right. Okay.
she's the one that did that, knowing the I'll say the economic environment, the business environment, um, basically how we are overlooked. It's a challenge. I made her CEO. I made her CEO because she's very detail oriented. And I said, if you said you believe in me, then you're going to go along this journey with me. It won't be me running off doing this. And, I can come back and I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, we're going on this together. And we've been there for all these years, working together, loving it, good times. She stays in her lane. I stay in mine, and it works. Now, when I told her that I was going to retire, she said, well, what about everybody that helped you get to that point? And I was like, wow, you're right. You're right. I said, so hold on, let me go do some thinking. I went, did some thinking, reached out to my network and said, I want to build this company with you guys. So here's what I want to do. I want an employee-owned company. I want full transparency so you can go into the drive and you can look at my employment contract, how many shares of the company I own, and it's all transparency.
Yeah.
They jumped on board. That's what we're doing. Smart Connections is funding True North. So we are an employee-owned company, 100%. And we have an exit plan, we have an operating plan, we have the whole shot. We'll never take a round of funding.
Wow. Congratulations, Mr. Pugh, because
thank you.
That, I never use this phrase, but it seems kind of apropos. That to me sounds like the American dream, if you will. To have ownership to the extent where you are able to and have the willingness and desire to lift others up who held you up in that.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, it's holding yourself accountable. And I mean, is it scary? Yes, it's scary. Well, you're doing so well, you must not be worried about anything. I worry every single year. Every single year. All right, how are we going to do next year? We need to grow. We need to do these things. These are things. They say, what keeps you up at night? I'm like, everything.
Right. Yeah, question is
everything keeps me up at night. I mean, if you want to talk about, true scared is you got a company, pandemic hits, bruh.
Look, that's the answer, bruh.
Bruh.
Bruh takes care of a lot of things. Actually, that's the response.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So okay, so let's bring it back again to these mouths to feed, because you've given us a lot here, Bill, and you just said some things that are still touchy and are going to be. There's a lot. I mean, the ultimate was lost in 2020, and I imagine into 2021, and people still reeling from it. And I think we are relearning. No, it's not relearning. It's a new way of learning life. Still, I really do
it's a
believe
transformation.
It truly is. Maybe a needed one. I don't know. But that's not to, again, people lost heavily. They lost lives, loved ones. We're not dismissing or discounting that at all. Yet at the same time, I think we understand that even in the midst of heavy loss, there's still an opportunity, if anything, for our vision to be checked. Hence how we move forward it truly does no good to, hang on to something to the extent where we fade, because God has put something in each and every one of us to bless the world with. And yeah, we need to mourn. We need to holler and scream and maybe cuss and fight. There's a time and place for everything. But there's still, as long as we have breath in us, right? There's something out front, and there's somebody else to give to lend to we throw the phrase around in business, right? Are you providing value? That very much is life, and that's the perspective we want to come from. So when it comes to that responsibility to somebody else, I think we're at a moment in history where maybe we have a section of generation who, man, that's the scariest thing in the world for them, is to think about, how do I take care of somebody else? I'm just trying to make it out here, just me, right? On to the other end of that, where, man, I'm 40, 50 something years old. My parents are likely out of here within the next 5 to 10. Hopefully they do 20, but we got to be real about things. How do we best position ourselves to have our footing so firm in business and in life, frankly, to be able to consider at some point being a philanthropist? What are those 2 or 3 practical, I'm going to say, mindsets, right? I know there's a list of actions, but those can be fluid at some. But where do we need to have our minds to position ourselves for that, Bill?
I think the very first thing is I'm going to start with self. Hold yourself accountable. Every single year, we need to have 3 to 5 goals that are not blue sky, but really truly attainable and are going to move the needle for you and yours personally. The second thing I think is we have to become financially aware of what it is that we're doing with our money. Invest in yourself, invest in your family, invest in your network. And I think those are things, and all of those circle back to accountability. Be accountable to those things, and engage on both sides with the generations ahead of us and the generations behind us. I can remember when I was 18, 19, and my parents telling me, man, that is crazy. You think you invented something? We were doing that back here. And
yeah.
And I'm seeing the same thing with mine,
Right.
But we really have engaging conversations, invest in the future. 401ks they won't make you rich. So they definitely won't make you wealthy.
Bill, we're gonna do this part 2, man, because you left too much hanging out here for the listeners, man. And I'm humbled to have this time with you, and I mean it. We need you. It was very fortuitous to meet you. The better part of a year ago, you just kind of popped up out of nowhere, saying like, "Who's Bill Pugh?" And but you may have called me. Either you called me or took my call right away, and yeah, man, I've just been enamored since, because you might be one of the smartest people I know. and just real quick, so people know, you referenced a little while ago, several patents. You're talking about patents that you personally hold. Is that correct?
Yes.
Listen up, fam. Listen up, fam. So we're gonna have to have this intellectual property conversation eventually, and probably give some guidance to people who are sitting on beautiful ideas that the world needs, but they don't know what to do or how to go about legitimizing it and having that level of ownership. But look, Bill, this is phenomenal, man. As much as we're endeavored to go below the surface, I think we only went a couple of layers below the surface. There's a whole lot more to you. There's a whole lot more to things that you referenced at the beginning of this conversation with automation and AI that I know we need to unpack, because I think there's a lot of uncertainty, fear surrounding those topics. And I think the very opposite is actually true when it comes to what the technologies in those realms can afford us and what they can do for us. So look forward to your expertise in helping us navigate those things. But thank you for treading deep with us, Bill, and we're excited to have you as part of the BFN community as well, man. God bless.
Hey, I appreciate you, and anytime, man.
Excellent.